We will have more guests coming up. I know I've said that a few times now, but one of them I had to write off because, well, he's probably going to jail. Welcome to In Conversation with Brad Wendes. It's been a minute, hasn't it? It's been a very long summer where we've had lots of other things going on and our potential guests have got other things going on, which kind of brings me to my first point. I had a guest lined up, someone that I wanted to interview, quite a successful businessman. And I'll tell you the intro. The intro was going to be, welcome to the show. And I wanted to know how this person managed to become a successful business person and maintain kind of a good ethical and moral compass. Because I thought this person was a good person and had managed to be successful in business. Wonderful, wonderful people, like really lovely people working there, and drives a brand new sports car with a personalized number plate. And I wanted to speak to this person about how someone could be wealthy and successful without being, a horrible person. On Monday of last week, this person was arrested for pretty horrendous crimes, until it's gone to court and he's been found guilty by a judge and or jury. I can't say too much, but this person has been accused of doing some fairly vile things. There seems to be quite a lot of evidence to suggest that he could be guilty. And it seems like this might not have been the first time that he'd committed this particular crime. So it's concerning that someone that I thought was a good person, was a pillar of society, was well liked, well respected, turned out to potentially be one of the most awful people in society. It's not good. It's not good. And it threw me a little bit. It threw me thinking, like, I considered this person a friend. This person also wanted to invest in one of my businesses, and we were going to have a conversation about that. And I can't, thank the timing enough that this person is not involved in anything I'm doing. And I likely never have to have dealings with the person again. They're probably going to go to prison. But they've got a family, and I'm looking at the repercussions of their actions. That is 3 children who now want to know what's up with dad. They've got a wife who's got to face the school run and the wrath of the school parents and people making judgments. You've got a whole bunch of people who resigned the day the accusations came out. So you've got a bunch of people who now don't have a job because, quite rightly so, they're not wanting to be associated with this kind of activity is important to them, but they now have to find other employment. Other businesses that might have been involved in this person are all tarred by the same brush. And we had no idea that this person was even dabbling in these areas, let alone committing crimes. You just don't know someone, do you? But I think that's enough on that subject. So my guest this week is on remand, and I'm really glad that he didn't come on the show, because I'd have had to do a lot of backtracking and deleting if I'd said he was a lovely person and then he was arrested for this particular crime. So the summer, for those that don't know, I'm involved in doing a lot of youth activity. We do parkour and free running. Over the summer, I've been posting some footage of me doing some parkour and acrobatics. It's been a fun summer. But we've also been working with young people. So we're working with a national scheme that continues providing free school meal provision for people who are on benefits-based free school dinners over the school holidays. So we have primary and secondary age people coming into the building, doing activities and getting a hot, nutritious lunch. And they do a range of activities from parkour, free running. We also did things like arts and crafts and tie dyeing. And we've done some food education with them as well. So we've been doing some the basics of cooking and the beginnings of nutrition. Because it's all well and good just giving them a meal every day, but also giving a little bit of education around food is really useful. So it's been a busy summer, really, really busy summer. And as well as doing the activities here, I also have my own little 2-year-old. I can't believe she's 2 already. So my little girl's birthday was the beginning of August, and she's turned 2, and she's got a love of Spider-Man, which is great, I guess. And I was thinking to myself, I haven't really pushed this. I haven't drummed this into her. Like I haven't thrown Spider-Man down her throat. But then I'm like, so for those that are listening that can't see, I do have a picture of Spider Brad right behind me. It's a commissioned piece of art that was done for my 40th birthday, which is Spider-Man swinging through the streets with my head on it. Well, my little girl comes into this office most days and we'll see that picture. And she refers to Spider-Man as Daddy Man, which again, I have no issue with. She's just got a little plush Spider Gwen. I won't tell her what happened to Gwen Stacy. For those that don't know, without giving any spoilers, maybe go and watch the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, or read the old comics. Gwen Stacy didn't have a good end. But my little girl gets really frustrated when she's watching the Spider-Man cartoons. Spidey and his amazing spider friends. It's great. I can tolerate that. far less annoying than Peppa Pig. And she gets really annoyed when Spidey takes his mask off, and she's like, "That's not Daddy, that's not Daddy." And my partner's had to say, "Well, actually, that's Daddy when he was little. That's Daddy when he was a little boy," because he's got no beard. So I'm really excited about the Jonathan Hickman Ultimate Spider-Man, which is arriving today. I've had my notification from Amazon. It's arriving today. And in this alternate timeline, Spider-Man didn't get his powers. And he gets his powers when he is married to MJ. He's an older man with a beard, looks far more like me. So I'm looking forward to this arriving today, and I'm going to flick through the comic with my little girl and show her that actually, Daddy Man does have a beard in some comics. Also going to be talking to Ed from the Don't Think Act podcast. I'm doing that interview tonight. I'm not sure when he's going to put that out, but I'll put some shorts out about that, and there's a link down there. But Don't Think Act podcast with Ed Ismail, who's on my show not so long ago. So check that out. Again, I'll link that somewhere around here. But really looking forward to that and getting back into kind of talking and interviewing, and looking forward to doing a lot more of the talking now that the summer's over. I've got another exciting project that's likely to be starting soon. We've been looking for a venue in North Essex, so quite a distance from this one, that we can run activities and we can do things from. We found a really cool old building. It's an old antiques house, and it's got a stunning frontage. So some of the team tracked down the owner, and I contacted the owner. It's been empty for 8 years, and it turns out it's owned by an individual, and this individual bought it to do something with that they're now not doing. And it's just been sat there empty for 8 years. And I spoke to the guy on the phone. He was really reasonable, but didn't seem at all interested in our uses for doing like outreach work and activity for young people and things like that. Which is, it's his building. He can do what he wants with it, but it's empty. And it turned out that he lives in really close proximity to this building. And I think part of him keeping ownership of it is to, protect the amenities in his area and make sure that there's not some loud or noisy business in there, or I don't know. Again, he's bought the building, he can do what he wants with it. So I left it. I didn't want to push too hard. I told him what we did. And then we've got a lot of backing from local authority and funders. And it's a really good project working to combat antisocial behaviour and helping young people get access to employment and education and training. And it's just a really good project. But he didn't seem that on board with it. I was like, okay, fine. Because the bottom line is, if we were to take that building on, he wants to keep it, so we couldn't buy it. We'd be renting it from him. And no one wants a reluctant landlord who's not completely on board with what you're doing living around the corner. So I didn't push too hard. I was actually driving along the road where this building was on Monday night. I was driving along it and I looked at the building. I was like, oh man, I hope that guy gets back to me, because, we really like to have a conversation. I'm driving and I've got the CarPlay going on. So my car beeps. I've got a message, and it reads me the message. And it was this chap saying that he'd like to have a conversation after all and talk about what's going on, and whether we'd want to use the building or not. So I've got a meeting with him this week, and we're going to discuss what it is we want to do, and really feel the guy out, make sure that he's someone we want to work with. He wants to know that we're someone we can work with, and the project's going to be a goer. But we kind of want at least 10 years lease on this place. So we'll see. Anyway, because I was not sure whether he was going to get back to me or not, I'm driving along and my car plays me this message. I'm driving, and my immediate response was, boom, motherfucker, which is what I exclaimed verbally. And the CarPlay then says, sending message. Boom, motherfucker. I was like, no, stop, Jesus, stop. Fortunately, didn't send the message, because I'm not sure that would have gone down too well with a potential new landlord for our business venture. But, that's that. So that was a funny little story from this week. I spoke a little bit before the summer about politics, and we had the general election, and Labour got in with quite a high majority. And I'd pointed out a few times that actually the vote share for Labour had gone down. It was clearly people didn't want the Conservatives in rather than they really did want Labour in. But that's a whole separate subject. I was also interested in Keir Starmer coming into power with a -20 approval rating, like coming in as an unpopular person. Had a lot of work to do to get himself and get the party to be nationally popular, rather than people just wanting some change, which doesn't look like we're getting lots of anyway, but actually to be on board with Labour and their policies. And it doesn't seem so far that that's the way it's going. So one of the first policies they've done, they've walked into a massive financial black hole. But cutting the winter fuel allowance for pensioners was not a popular policy. Now, whether the policy is right or not isn't really the conversation here, because they're taking it from all pensioners get the winter fuel allowance to making it means tested, which means the poorest are still likely to get it, and the wealthiest who might not need it aren't going to get it. So that seems fair. But there'll be some people in the middle who are, perhaps got enough coming in, but have got high outgoings, and it's going to really affect people. And they're saying that there are going to be excess deaths as a result of this, and that doesn't seem like a good policy. But the policy and its popularity and the way it's been spun in the media and the way that it's being presented to the public is that they're taking the winter fuel allowance away from pensioners, which is not a popular policy. Why not just tax the rich? Just tax the rich. It seems to me, who's not an economist and not a politician, to be the simplest thing to do. We've got massive corporations posting huge profits. You've got incredibly wealthy people hoarding huge assets, and just tax the rich. Tax the rich. You've got the energy companies posting enormous profits while energy bills are going through the roof. In the UK, we've got some of the highest energy and transport costs in Europe. Just tax those companies. Tax them. They're making huge profits. Tax them. I was watching another video by Gary Stevenson recently. If you haven't read Trading Game, read it. It's brilliant. It's compelling. It's a great book. Also, good message, but it's a really interesting story. Anyway, so I was watching another video, Gary's Economics, and he answered the question quite succinctly about, saying if you're going to tax wealthy people, then they'll simply leave the country. But actually, the point he makes is about asset holders. If you've got people who are hoarding property, whether that be residential, commercial, or just land, just hoarding assets, and that's where their wealth is, well, the assets can't leave the country, can they? Tax the assets. Tax them on what they've got. And I think it looks like the government's considering doing that. There's a concern from some that they're going to be raising tax on capital gains, inheritance tax. And inheritance tax is another one that baffles me, why so many people are annoyed. You can get left over £500,000 before you get taxed on it, and you're only taxed on the amount over, I think it's less than 10% of people who die and leave assets that are being subject to inheritance tax. It really isn't a big issue. And people are saying, well, it's being taxed twice. Everything's taxed twice. Everything gets taxed over and over and over again. So inheritance tax is an odd one for people to get really, really annoyed about. And it's not the person who earned it that's paying the tax, as harsh as it sounds. It's the person who's receiving it that's being taxed. Because the person who's leaving it is dead. They're gone. So why would they care? It's the person who's receiving it. And for those that are, particularly on board with the conservative values of personal responsibility, is that not something you're against? Someone hasn't worked hard at all and is being given a handout. That's something that's particularly unpopular in these circles. Or is it okay if it's a handout from a member of your family? Is nepotism acceptable, but being given assistance from elsewhere not? When some will take it to the extreme. So as a member of my family who won't help out any of his family, won't really give his own children any assistance, yet they're still means tested for university on his income. So where's the fairness? Anyway, government's talking about a painful budget this autumn, so we'll look forward to that. And they said those with the broadest shoulders will take the biggest burden. We'll see. I'm really interested to see. But it's certainly interesting to see that people are selling up buy-to-let properties, because buy-to-let's another interesting one. This wasn't even a thing 50 odd years ago. And it seems odd that you can, just in its most simple terms, getting a buy-to-let mortgage, you get a loan to buy the house. Yeah, you put down a deposit, but you're getting a loan on the value of the house. Someone else is then paying off your loan. Yeah, they're living in the house, but they're paying off your loan. And you get to keep the asset. And they have no say in it. It doesn't seem like it's a very fair or good system. By all means, if someone owns a property outright, then they should rent it out. But buy-to-let mortgages don't seem like there's any fairness in that system at all, because all that person needs is a little bit of money. Saying, well, these people are hardworking and they're providing a service. There's a lot of landlords out there that are not providing a service. They are simply taking advantage of those that don't have the money to buy massively inflated houses. We said, 50 years, it's been a 3,000% increase in property. Simply by being born at the right time, you can now be a millionaire because you bought a house for 60 grand that's now worth £1 million, particularly in this area. But again, that's another conversation. It does seem like the world's going a bit crazy now, even looking at video games at the moment. Right? Ubisoft, you've had Star Wars Outlaws, which should have been a great game. Like, it's a Star Wars open world. It's great. And it seems like the launch has been fumbled. I'm not excited about it. I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and I'm not at all excited about this game. It doesn't seem to have done very well. Ubisoft's stocks have tanked. They've gone down massively over the last couple of weeks. And then we've got Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is due to come out later this year. And if that doesn't do well, it could be the end of Ubisoft. Ubisoft is a massive, massive software company, huge game developer that have just had a couple of massive, massive flops. And there's a lot of people saying it's because of things like diversity, equity, inclusion. There's been a lot of criticism of Assassin's Creed Shadows because they've got an African protagonist who is a samurai in feudal Japan, and there's been like hip hop music played over the fight scenes and things. And yeah, it seems like an odd flex to have that character in that situation. But you know, he's a genuine historic character apparently, and there's some argument over whether he was ever a samurai or he was just a glorified servant in that time. But it seems odd in a feudal Japanese setting to not have Japanese people as kind of every character. Concord, another massive game from Sony, just completely flopped, just taken offline within 2 weeks. Everyone refunded. Massive, massive flop. That one should have, again, been a good one. It's an online multiplayer shooter. Should have been quite successful, should have been popular, but just wasn't. Just absolutely tanked. And then finally, PlayStation 5 Pro got announced this week. And, you know, read the room. £700, $700 for console, an extra $100 for the disc drive, and an extra $25 for the stand. As a mid-product refresh, £700 for a console that doesn't seem to be much different to the one that already exists. Who is this even for? At a time when there's a huge cost of living crisis, you know, Sony maybe delay it, hold on to it, or consider the price. I don't know. Anyway, we will have more guests coming up. I know I've said that a few times now, but one of them I had to write off because, well, he's probably going to jail. I've got some great people that we're just trying to tie down times and dates to. Lots of people in the creative industry. I've got dancers, I've got actors, I've got performers. Really, really excited for the conversation we're going to be having. Just need to get them recorded and edited. I think I'm going to go over to a once a month interview with some short form stuff in between. I'll just see what sticks. You know, as the way of all these things, if people watch it, people listen to it, then I'll post more of that thing. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.